We recently completed a deck competition where over 300 people submitted their favorite unpopular commanders that have less than 1,000 decks on EDHREC. I want to say big congrats to the Solkanar the Swamp King deck, or Shrek as they like to call it, for winning the community vote. They won a 3-tree city that is in transit to them as we speak. Today, I'm sharing the details for our next deck competition. By popular vote from the last video, we are going to be doing a background deck competition. Background beat out the partners. It sounded like more people were interested in having a background deck competition. So the details for said competition are pretty simple. I'll ask what the commander and background combination is, how many decks the combination has, and I'll ask a few questions about your deck. Like all of our commander focuses, I'm looking in particular for combinations that have less than 1,000 total decks on EDHREC, but in all honesty, I really don't anticipate that is going to be a huge limit for most of these decks, unless you're playing like the most popular. But a lot of background combinations really don't have that many pairs. Having done the first competition, I will also say that I have a better idea this time of what exactly I'm looking for. So here's a tip for anyone interested in, me checking out their deck even more. So your description is what really sets your deck apart. And in particular, I'll be looking for decks that are unique compared to what the deck normally does. So for example, the Nael Avizoa Aeronaut deck really caught attention for me and a lot of the crowd as well in the last competition because it was unique for what the commander does. It has a domain ability, so normally people see domain and they think, all right, I should play Prismatic Omen and get all 5 land types. But this deck did not want to have all 5 land types, but instead they wanted to be able to manipulate the top of their deck so that they could make sure a big spell was on the top so that they could win clashes. And they played a lot of clash cards. So that was really cool and unique to say. And just as one other example to kind of further demonstrate what I'm looking for, let's say, you had an Atraxa deck. And yes, I know that doesn't qualify because it has way more than 1,000 decks. But if you did have an Atraxa deck, it's not super interesting for me to share with viewers if you have an Atraxa Poison deck or an Atraxa Super Friends deck, because pretty much everyone builds Atraxa around Poison or Super Friends. But on the other hand, if you built an Atraxa around, let's say, cumulative upkeep and paying more or things like that, then okay, that is interesting. And that is something that when you say that, people would probably be interested in hearing, whoa, how do you make that work? And so, of course, like I said, that's kind of a radical example, but it kind of demonstrates with these commanders, I'm interested in seeing unique takes or unique spins as opposed to what everyone else does when they have or build around a deck and a background combination. For this reason, I'm going to ask what the typical commander and background combination wants to do and what makes your deck unique. I'll also ask about unique inclusions and your ideal paths for winning. Last time, reading through over 30,000 cards from 300 plus deck lists took a month. It was a lot longer than I anticipated. And so this time around, I am going to caveat that I'm going to read every single description, and if the deck description and game plan sounds interesting enough to highlight to viewers, then I will read the deck list. So try to make the description compelling enough to want to read more and see the deck list, because I will read every single description 100% of the way through, but not every deck list link, because if there's 500 this time, 50,000 cards to see would just take way too much time. I'm not saying that an Abdel Adrian deck shouldn't blink, because that's obviously the reason why you build the commander, But I would love to see and hear about any unique spins or inclusions you have for the deck. What makes your deck fun to play and maybe different from other Abdel Adrian decks out there? And it's that unique take and inclusion or game plans that I think is just what makes it super fun to share these decks in these videos with viewers. Like last time, I will select 4 finalists to cover in a video to go through your deck and share it with the channel. I will then create a YouTube poll to ask viewers what their favorite deck was from the finalists shared. I'll also include some honorable mentions because if it's anything like last time, there were way too many great decks and you guys really made it difficult to pick just 4. So if you are interested in seeing the 300 plus deck lists and descriptions from the last competition, it's available on the Patreon just as a link to a spreadsheet with all of the forms and descriptions. And as you know, I really like to give an incentive for participating in these deck competitions. So the winner of this deck competition will win a Blood Crypt borderless Unfinity foil. That, I don't know if everyone remembers the Target boxes that kind of came out a few years, like I think it was, a year ago. I ended up getting 2 Unfinity collector boosters, which was kind of unfortunate, but I pulled a foil Blood Crypt from one of those collector boosters, and so let's give it away. It's about $30 right now, and so if you submit your Unpopular background commander deck and win, then I will ship you this Blood Crypt foil. One last caveat that I will say is that in the Google form, I do ask for your email. It's not required, but if you are hoping to win the Blood Crypt, then I need to be able to ask the person what address to ship it to. And so I will be messaging the winner to ask for an address that I can ship the Blood Crypt to. And also I like to ask finalists a little bit more information about their deck, just so I can ask a few questions here and there. That part isn't required. It's just nice to have that additional information, but that is why I ask for an email. But that's all that I have for this competition kickoff. The Google form to submit decks is in the description of this video, and the questions are pretty self-explanatory. You can submit more than one deck if you'd like to, and if you have any friends with great background decks that you've played against, please feel free to send it their way. I hope to have this competition result video in much faster than last time, so it won't take an entire month. But thanks so much everyone for watching. I'm super excited to read your Unpopular background decks, and let's let the competition begin.